The massive Valorian warship Eternal Dawn moved through space like a silver mountain. Its hull stretched for 3 kilometers, covered in weapons that could turn planets into dust. Inside the ship's command center, Commander Tehan stood before a large screen showing a small blue planet. "Sir, we have reached the human homeworld," reported Captain Hedgen, his 4 arms working at different control panels. Like all Valorians, he stood nearly 3 meters tall, his gray skin gleaming under the ship's lights. "The species calls. Their planet Earth." Tehan nodded slowly. This was his 17th first contact mission. Each time the pattern was the same. The Valorian Empire would arrive, demonstrate their superior technology, and the new species would join the Empire. Some joined willingly. Others needed gentle persuasion. None had ever refused. "What do we know about them?" Tehan asked. "They are primitive, sir," Hedgen replied, reading from his report. "They still use chemical rockets to reach space. Their weapons fire small metal pieces using explosions. They have not even mastered clean energy on their entire planet." Tehan smiled. Another easy conquest. The Valorian Empire controlled 17 star systems, each brought into the fold through superior technology and overwhelming force. These humans would be no different. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the planet," announced the communications officer. "Put it through," Tehan ordered. The main screen flickered and showed a human face. The creature was smaller than a Valorian, with only 2 arms and pale skin. It had dark hair and wore simple clothing. "Greetings," the human said in clear Galactic standard language. "I am Ji Wu, representative of the United Earth's government. We welcome you to our system." Tehan was mildly impressed. Most primitive. Species took weeks to learn proper communication protocols. These humans had done it in days. "I am Commander Tehan of the Valorian Empire," he replied. "We come to offer your species a place in our great civilization." Giwu's expression remained calm. "We appreciate your offer, Commander. However, we would like to discuss terms. Can we arrange a meeting?" "Of course," Tehan said. "You may. Send a delegation to our ship." 2 hours later, a small human shuttle docked with the Eternal Dawn. Tehan watched through the security cameras as 3 humans stepped out. They moved differently than other species the Valorians had encountered. There was something careful about their movements, like they were always ready for danger. The leader was Jiwu, the same human from the transmission. With him was a woman called Nar, who they said was a historian. The third was a man named Dongmin, who wore a military uniform. Tehan met them in the ship's main conference room. The humans looked tiny compared to the Valorian officers present. Captain Hedgen towered over them. Science Officer Wubin had to bend down to see them properly. "Welcome aboard the Eternal Dawn," Tehan said, gesturing to seats that had been adjusted for human size. "I trust your journey was comfortable." "Very much so," Jiwu replied. "Your ship is impressive. We have never seen anything like it." "It is one of many," Tehan said with pride. "The Valorian Empire has thousands of such vessels. We have brought peace and prosperity to 17 different worlds." The human called Dongmin spoke for the first time. "Peace through conquest?" There was something in his tone that made Tehan pause. Most primitive species were either frightened or excited when meeting the Valorians. This human sounded neither impressed nor afraid. "Peace through unity," Tehan corrected. "Each species contributes their strengths to the Empire. In return, they receive protection, technology, and prosperity." "And if a species refuses?" Nure asked quietly. Captain Hedgen laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "No species has ever refused. Human. It would be most unwise." The 3 humans exchanged glances. Tehan had seen this before. It was the moment when primitive species realized they had no choice. Usually this was when they began to negotiate surrender terms. "We understand," Giwu said. "However, human decision-making requires careful consideration. We have democratic processes that take time." "How much time?" Tehan asked. 30 days, Dongmin replied. "We need to review all implications and consult with our governments." Tehan almost laughed. 30 days was nothing. Valorians had waited years for some species to accept reality. "Very well. You have 30 days to make your decision. Thank you, Kiwu said. During this time, would it be possible to exchange cultural information? We are curious about Valorian civilization. Of course, Taehyun agreed. Knowledge. Sharing builds trust. Nare leaned forward. We would be happy to share our history and culture with you. Would your people be interested in learning about human civilization? Science Officer Wubin straightened with interest. I would find that fascinating. Human development patterns could be useful for integration planning. Excellent, Nare smiled. We have extensive archives, military history, cultural development, scientific progress, all available for your review. Taehyun nodded approvingly. The humans were being cooperative. They understood that resistance was futile. Sharing their military history would help the Valorians plan the integration process. We will arrange for data transfer, he said. Is there anything else you require? It's time to consider your generous offer, Juwoo replied, standing up. We will return to Earth and begin our deliberations. The humans prepared to leave. Taehyun noticed something odd. The military officer Dong Min had been quiet throughout most of the meeting, but now he was studying the Valorian officers with sharp eyes. He looked at their weapons, their armor, their positions in the room. It was the behavior of someone planning for battle. Taehyun dismissed the thought. What could these primitive humans do against Valorian technology? Their weapons were laughably outdated. Their ships were barely capable of interplanetary travel. They had no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no quantum computers. After the humans left, Captain Hajin approached Taehyun. Sir, should we begin preparing for occupation? Not yet, Taehyun replied. Let them have their 30 days. It'll make the transition smoother if they believe they had a choice. They seemed very cooperative, Wubin observed, especially offering their military archives. Most species try to hide their defensive capabilities. These humans are smart, Taehyun said. They know they cannot win against us. They are trying to make the best of their situation. As the eternal dawn settled into orbit around Earth, Taehyun felt satisfied. In 30 days, the human homeworld would become the 18th member of the Valorian Empire. The humans would contribute their labor and resources to the greater good. Their primitive culture would be preserved in museums. It would be another easy victory for the Valorians. After all, what could these small, weak humans possibly do against the might of the Empire? In the depths of space, the eternal dawn waited. Its crew prepared for what they assumed would be another routine conquest. None of them suspected that they had just made the greatest mistake in Valorian history. The 30-day countdown had begun. 3 days had passed since the first meeting with the humans. The Valorian Empire's finest researchers had gathered in the ship's analysis center. A room filled with floating displays and data processors. Commando Taehyun walked among them, checking their progress. What have you learned about the humans? He asked Science Officer Wudashbin. Wudashbin looked up from his workstation. They are more organized than we first thought, sir. Their planet has over 200 separate governments, yet they managed to create a unified response to our arrival in just days. Impressive for primitives, Taehyun admitted. What else? Their population is enormous, sir.
Nearly 8 billion.
Individuals on a single planet. Most species we have encountered had much smaller numbers. Cultural analysts saw Young approach them. She was younger than most officers, with the bright eyes of someone who loved learning about other species. Commander, I have a request regarding the humans. What is it? They offered to share their historical archives with us. I believe studying their past would help us understand how to integrate them peacefully into the Empire. Taehyun considered. This So-Young had helped with integration on 4 previous worlds. Her cultural reports had made the process much smoother each time. What specifically interests you? He asked. Their military history, sir. Understanding how they wage war will help us predict their behavior patterns. Every species we have encountered has unique approaches to conflict. Captain Hajin overheard the conversation. Their military capabilities are primitive. What could we possibly learn from them? So-Young turned to face the captain. Sir, with respect, understanding their military thinking is not about learning tactics. It is about psychology. If we know how they think about conflict, we can better predict their actions during integration. This made sense to Tehan. Valorians had learned that each species had different cultural attitudes toward warfare. Some fought to the death. Others surrendered quickly. Some used honor-based combat. Others preferred deception. Understanding these patterns made conquest much easier. Very well, Tehan decided. Make the request. An hour later, So-young sent a message to the human delegation on Earth. The response came quickly. Ji-woo himself appeared on the communication screen. Greetings, Analyst So-young. We received your request for historical information. Yes, Representative Ji-woo. We are particularly interested in your military history. Understanding how your species approaches conflict will help us plan for peaceful integration. Ji-woo smiled. Of course, we would be happy to share our archives. Our historian Nare has prepared comprehensive files for your review. How comprehensive? So-young asked. Complete records going back over 5,000 years. Battle reports, strategic analyses, technological developments, cultural impacts of warfare. Everything we have documented. So-young felt excited. 5,000 years of military history was an incredible resource. Most species they had encountered had only fragments of their early military development. That is very generous, she said. We will treat this information with respect. We trust you will, Gi-woo replied. Our archivist Kyung-ho will coordinate the data transfer. He has organized the files by time period and conflict type. Within hours, the first data packets began arriving at the eternal dawn. So-young watched. As her screens filled with human military records, she called her research team together. We have received the first batch of human military archives, she announced to the 5 researchers under her command. Want detailed analysis of their combat patterns, strategic thinking, and technological development. Junior researcher Woo Bin raised his hand. Ma'am, there seems to be an unusual amount of data. Are we sure these files are complete? So-young checked her screens. The humans had sent over 10,000 individual files, and this was labeled as Early Period Part 1 of 47. 47 parts? She muttered. That seems excessive for primitive warfare. She opened the first file. It was labeled Battle of Kadesh, 21274 BCE. The document contained detailed battle plans, troop movements, and tactical analyses. The level of detail was impressive for such an ancient conflict. Begin with chronological analysis, So-young instructed. Look for patterns in their military development. For the next several hours, the research team worked through the files. So-young noticed something odd. The humans seemed to have been fighting continuously throughout their history. Most species had periods of peace between major conflicts. The human archives showed almost no gaps in warfare. Researcher Minho approached her station. Ma'am, I have found something strange. Is it? The humans appear to have been fighting wars simultaneously on multiple fronts throughout most of their history. Look at this period. He showed her a timeline. While they were fighting something called the 100 Years' War in one region, they were simultaneously fighting completely different wars in other areas. So-young studied the data. Perhaps they had multiple tribes or nations fighting each other. That is what I thought at first, Minho replied. But the scale is enormous. Some of these conflicts involved millions of soldiers. Another researcher, the Jin, joined the conversation. I have been analyzing their technological development. Their weapons evolved very quickly compared to other species. They went from simple metal weapons to explosive devices in just a few thousand years. Show me, So-young said. The Jun displayed a timeline of human weapon development. Look at this progression. Bronze, weapons, then iron, then steel. But then they developed something called gunpowder and everything changed. Their weapons became much more deadly in a short time. So-young studied the timeline. Most species took tens of thousands of years to develop advanced weapons. The humans had done it in a fraction of that time. What is gunpowder? She asked. It is a chemical mixture that creates explosions. They used it to launch projectiles at high speed, but that was just the beginning. The Gene scrolled through more files. They kept improving it. Bigger explosions, better projectiles, longer range. Interesting, So-young said. Rapid technological development driven by military necessity. Researcher Jae-sung called out from his station. Ma'am, I need to report something concerning. So-young walked over to him. What have you found? The humans have detailed records of something called total war. It appears to be a concept where entire populations are considered military targets. Explain. According to these files, during some conflicts, human armies would deliberately target civilian populations. They would destroy food supplies, burn cities, and kill non-combatants to weaken their enemies. Sa-Young felt a chill. The Valorian Empire had strict rules about civilian protection during conquest. Targeting non-combatants was considered barbaric. Are you certain about this? She asked. The documentation is very detailed, ma'am. They have extensive records of these tactics. Even have a term for it, scorched earth policy. Sa-Young returned to her main station and opened more files. The deeper she went into the human archives, the more disturbed she became. These humans had not just fought wars, they had refined warfare into a science. She found records of conflicts that lasted for decades, wars that killed millions of people, battles where humans fought until every soldier was dead rather than surrender, ma'am, Wu Bin called out. I have finished reviewing the first 1,000 files. Should I continue? Yes, Sa-Young replied, though she was beginning to have doubts. Continue analysis. There's still 46 more sections to review, Wu Bin said. At this rate, it will take weeks to process all the data. Sa-Young stared at her screens. Weeks to process the military history of a single species? That was unprecedented. Most species had military records that could be reviewed in a few days. How much data did they send us? She asked. Wu Bin checked his systems. The complete archive is over 50 million individual documents, ma'am? 50 million documents. Sa-Young had never seen anything like it. Either the humans were the most thorough record keepers in the galaxy, or they had been fighting wars on a scale that no other species had ever achieved. She looked around at her research team. They were all working frantically through the files, but they looked increasingly uncomfortable. The human military archives were revealing a species that seemed to live for warfare. Continue the analysis, she ordered. I want a complete report. Deep in her mind, Sa-Young was beginning to wonder if they had made a mistake. These humans might be more dangerous than anyone had realized. The analysis continued through the night. And with each passing hour, the true nature of humanity began to emerge from the archives. 7 days had passed since the Valorian research team began studying human military archives. The analysis center on the Eternal Dawn had become a place of growing unease. Cultural analyst Sa-Young had not slept properly in 3 days. The human war records were unlike anything she had ever seen. Ma'am, you need to see this, called out military analyst Minho from his workstation. His voice carried a tone of disbelief. Sa-Young walked over to him. What have you found? I have been studying human conflicts from what they call the 20th century. The scale of warfare is beyond anything we have encountered. Minho displayed a series of charts on his screen. Look at this conflict they call World War II. Sa-Young studied the data. How many soldiers were involved? Over 100 million people fought in this single war. But that is not the most disturbing part. Minho highlighted another section. The total death count was over 70 million individuals. Sa-Young could not believe what she was hearing. That is more than the entire population of most worlds we have conquered. It gets worse, Minho continued. This was not spread over centuries. The entire conflict lasted only 6 years. Sa-Young felt her stomach turn. 70 million deaths in 6 years meant that humans had been killing each other at a rate of over 30,000 per day. Every single day. For 6 years. These records are accurate, she asked. I have cross-referenced multiple sources. The numbers are consistent across all human archives. Researcher the Gin approached them. Ma'am, I need to report something even more disturbing. The humans have developed weapons that can kill millions of people at once. What kind of weapons? They call them nuclear weapons. The humans split atoms to create massive explosions. A single bomb can destroy an entire city. Sa-Young remembered nuclear technology. Valorians had learned about it thousands of years ago, but had never weaponized it. The idea of using atomic power for warfare was considered too dangerous and unpredictable. How many of these weapons do they have? She asked. According to the archives, at their peak, humans had over 70,000 nuclear weapons. Enough to destroy their entire planet several times over. That is impossible, So-Young said. No species would create enough weapons to destroy their own world. The records are very detailed, the Jin insisted. They not only created these weapons, they pointed them at each other for decades. They called it mutual assured destruction. So-Young sat down heavily. Mutual assured destruction. The concept was so alien to Valorian, thinking that she could barely understand it. The humans had created weapons that could end their civilization and then threatened to use them on each other. Ma'am, junior researcher Wubin called out. I have finished analyzing their ancient warfare patterns. The results are very disturbing. Show me, So-Young said. Wubin displayed his findings. Human warfare has been continuous for over 5,000 years. In all that time, there have been only brief periods of peace. Most of their history is one long chain of conflicts. Define. Brief periods? So-Young asked. The longest period without major warfare was 27 years. Most peaceful periods lasted less than 10 years. So-Young stared at the data. The Valorian Empire had been at peace for over 300 years between major conflicts. These humans had never known true peace. What about their smaller conflicts? She asked. There are no smaller conflicts, Wubin replied. Even there. Minor wars involved hundreds of thousands of casualties. They have fought wars on every continent of their planet. In every possible environment, on land, at sea, underground, and in their atmosphere, researcher Jae Sung approached with his own findings. Ma'am, I have been studying their tactical development. The humans have created military strategies that would be considered war crimes by our standards. Explain. They have detailed manuals on psychological warfare. They deliberately spread disease among enemy populations. They have used starvation as a weapon. They have poisoned water supplies and burned entire forests to deny resources to their enemies. So-Young felt sick. The Valorian military code prohibited such tactics. A war was supposed to be conducted with honor, between soldiers, not against entire populations. There is more, Jae-Sung continued. They have developed something called asymmetric warfare. When facing a stronger enemy, they do not fight fair battles. Instead, they use ambush tactics, sabotage, and guerrilla warfare that can continue for decades. Guerrilla warfare? Small groups of fighters who hide among civilian populations and strike at the enemy when they least expect it. They have extensive manuals on how to fight this way, how to make weapons from common materials, how to turn any object into a weapon, how to continue fighting even when their armies are defeated. So-Young remembered the human military officer. From the first meeting, Dongmin had studied the Valorian officers with sharp eyes. At the time, she had thought it was simple curiosity. Now she wondered if he had been assessing them as potential enemies. Ma'am, Minho called out again. I have found something that explains their rapid technological development. What is it? The humans do not develop technology for peace and then adapt it for war. They develop technology specifically for killing and then find peaceful uses. For it later, Minho showed her examples. They invented rockets to deliver nuclear weapons across continents. Only later did they use rockets to explore space. They developed computers to calculate artillery trajectories. They created the internet to maintain communications during nuclear war. Everything they create is designed for warfare. Asked not everything, but much of it. Their medical advances come from treating battlefield injuries. Their material science comes from creating better armor and weapons. Even their food preservation technology was developed to feed armies. Senior researcher Bioram approached the group. She was the oldest member of the team and had studied 17 different species. I have been reviewing the data from all sections. I need to ask a question that has been bothering me. What is it? So-Young asked. Are we certain these archives are real? The level of documented violence seems impossible for any species to survive. So-Young had been wondering the same thing. You think they are lying? Think they might be exaggerating their military capabilities to frighten us? No species could fight this continuously and still exist. But the documentation is incredibly detailed, the Jinn pointed out. They have photographs, video recordings, detailed casualty lists. If this is false, they have created the most elaborate deception in galactic history. Borum shook her head, and we must consider the alternative. These humans have turned warfare into their primary cultural activity. They have spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing. The research team fell silent. Around them, the analysis center hummed with activity as computers processed more human military data. Each file revealed new horrors. Each document showed another way that humans had learned to destroy each other. "What should we tell Commander Tae-hin?" Ubin asked. So-young looked at her team. They all looked exhausted and disturbed. In 7 days of studying human military archives, they had learned more about warfare than they had known existed in the entire galaxy. "We continue the analysis," she decided, "but I think we need to recommend that the commander review our findings. Personally, are you going to tell him that the humans might be dangerous?" Minho asked. So-young looked at her screens filled with data about human wars, nuclear weapons, guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, continuous conflict for 5,000 years. "I am going to tell him that we might have seriously underestimated these humans." The analysis continued, but the mood in the research center had changed completely. The Valorians were beginning to realize that they were not dealing with a primitive species. They were dealing with a civilization that had spent millennia perfecting the art of war, and they had just given these humans 30 days to prepare. 14 days had passed since the Valorian research team began their investigation. Commander Tae-hin entered the analysis center to find his researchers working frantically. None of them had taken proper rest in days. The room felt heavy with tension. So-young, report. He ordered. Cultural analyst So-young looked up from her workstation. Her eyes were red from exhaustion and stress. "Sir, we need to discuss our findings immediately. The human military archives reveal capabilities far beyond what we initially assessed." "Explain." "Sir, the humans have not just fought wars. They have spent their entire civilization perfecting warfare. Every aspect of their society has been shaped by conflict." Tae-hin frowned. "You told me this before? What new information do you have?" Chief military historian Insu approached them. He had been brought in 3 days ago when the regular research team became overwhelmed. "Commander, the humans have developed military concepts that we never considered possible, such as they have theoretical frameworks for fighting wars that last multiple generations. They plan military campaigns that their great-grandchildren will complete." Tae-hin felt a chill. Generations. Why would any species plan such long conflicts? "Because they have done it before," Inzu replied. "Look at this conflict." He displayed data on his screen. "They call it the 100 Years' War. It lasted from 1337 to 1453 by their calendar. 116 years, Tae-hin calculated. It is longer than most Valorian lifespans. The humans who started this war died of old age. Their children continued fighting. Their grandchildren continued fighting. For generations of humans fought the same war." So-young joined the conversation. "Sir, this is not unusual for humans. They have fought multiple conflicts lasting decades. They pass warfare down through families like inheritance." Research coordinator Yoonji approached with her own disturbing findings. "Commander, I have been analyzing their weapons development timeline. The pattern is terrifying." "Show me." "Every time humans develop a new weapon, they immediately begin developing better versions. They created gunpowder weapons, then spent centuries making them more deadly. They invented aircraft, then turned them into weapons within years." Yoonji displayed a timeline. "Look at this progression. They invented nuclear weapons in 1945. By 1961, they had created bombs 1,000 times more powerful. They did not stop there. How powerful did they make them?" Hyon asked. "Their largest nuclear weapon was 65 million tons of explosive force. One bomb could destroy a city of 10 million people." Tae-hin stared at the data. The Valorian Empire's most powerful weapons could destroy large buildings. These humans had created weapons that could level entire cities. "Did they ever use these weapons?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Yoonji replied quietly. they used them on each other, twice. On civilian populations, the command center fell silent. Valorian military code strictly prohibited targeting civilians. The idea of deliberately destroying entire cities full of non-combatants was unthinkable. Why would they do such a thing? Taehyun asked. To end a war faster, and Su replied. The humans have a concept called total war. When they fight, they consider everything a valid target. Civilians, cities, food supplies, even the environment itself. Senior analyst Su-ben approached with more data. Sir, I have been studying their recent conflicts. Even their modern wars show escalation patterns that concern me. Recent conflicts, wars from the past 50 years, they have fought in jungles, deserts, mountains, and urban areas. They have developed tactics for every possible environment. Su-ben showed him examples. In jungle warfare, they used chemical weapons to remove all plant cover. In desert warfare, they used satellite guidance systems to strike targets from hundreds of kilometers away. In urban warfare, they developed weapons that can penetrate multiple building walls. They adapt their tactics to any environment, Taehyun observed. More than adapt, sir. They have manuals for fighting in environments that do not exist on their planet. They have theoretical plans for warfare in zero gravity, underwater cities, and hostile atmospheres. Taehyun felt increasingly uncomfortable. Why would they plan for environments they have never encountered? Because they assume they will encounter them eventually, Su-ben replied. The humans plan for every possible type of conflict. They have strategies for fighting enemies with superior technology, greater numbers, and unknown capabilities. Military analyst Minho joined the group. Sir, I have found something that explains their confidence during our first meeting. What is it? The humans have extensive experience fighting technologically superior opponents. They have detailed case studies on asymmetric warfare against advanced enemies. Minho displayed historical examples. In many conflicts, humans faced enemies with better weapons, better training, and greater numbers. They developed tactics to overcome these disadvantages, such as they use terrain to their advantage. They strike at supply lines rather than fighting direct battles. They use psychological warfare to break enemy morale. They turn the enemy's advantages against them. Soyoung added her own findings. Sir, the humans have studied every type of military opponent. They have theoretical frameworks for fighting enemies they have never met. Explain. They have plans for fighting underground civilizations, space-based opponents, enemies that use different technologies. They have even developed strategies for fighting opponents who think differently than they do. Taehyun realized what she was saying. They have plans for fighting aliens. Yes, sir. They call it xenological warfare. They have spent decades preparing for the possibility of alien invasion. The room fell silent again. The Valorian research team was beginning to understand that the humans had not just accepted their arrival, they had been preparing for it. What specific preparations have they made? Taehyun asked. Insu consulted his files. They have developed weapons designed to fight in space. They have trained soldiers for combat in hostile environments. They have built underground facilities to continue fighting, even if their surface cities are destroyed. They have also developed communication systems that can function during massive disruption, Yoonji added. They can coordinate resistance activities even if their main governments are eliminated. Resistance activities? Guerrilla warfare? Sir, the humans have detailed manuals on how to fight occupying forces. They have strategies for sabotage, assassination, and psychological warfare against invaders. Taehyun felt the weight of realization settling on him. These humans had not just developed military capabilities, they had spent thousands of years preparing for every possible type of conflict, including alien invasion. What is your assessment? He asked his team. Soyoung answered for all of them. Sir, we believe the humans are the most militarily developed species we have ever encountered. They have turned warfare into a science. Every aspect of their civilization has been shaped by conflict.
Yeah?
Are they more dangerous than we initially thought? Sir Insu replied carefully. We believe the humans may be more dangerous than any species the Valorian Empire has ever faced. The analysis center fell quiet except for the humming of computers processing more human military data. Tehan looked around at his research team. They all looked frightened. For the first time since arriving at Earth, Commander Tehan began to wonder if the Valorian Empire had made a terrible mistake. These humans were not primitive prey waiting to be conquered. They were predators who had spent millennia perfecting the art of war, and they had 16 days left to prepare. 21 days had passed since the Valorian Empire arrived at Earth. The analysis center on the Eternal Dawn had become a place of fear and disbelief. Commander Tehan stood before his entire research team, demanding answers to questions. He was afraid to hear. "Give me your final assessment," he ordered. Senior Analyst Subin stepped forward. She had been analyzing human military doctrine for the past week. Her findings had shaken her to her core. "Sir, the humans have military concepts that go beyond anything we understand. They do not just fight to win battles. They fight to completely destroy their enemies." "Explain what you mean by completely destroy." "They have detailed plans for eliminating entire civilizations. They call it total warfare doctrine. When humans decide to fight, they plan to remove their enemy from existence." Subin displayed her most disturbing findings. "Look at this document from their archives. It is a military manual called Unconventional Warfare Guidelines." Tehan read the summary on the screen. His blood ran cold. "They have instructions for fighting wars that last forever?" "Yes, sir. They call it infinite conflict theory. If humans cannot win a war quickly, they will continue fighting for as long as necessary. Decades, centuries. They will pass the war to their children and their children's children." Research Coordinator Yunji joined the briefing. "Sir, I have analyzed their resistance warfare capabilities. The humans have prepared for scenarios where they lose their armies, their governments, and their major cities. What happens then? They continue fighting. They have pre-positioned supplies throughout their planet. They have trained civilian populations in guerrilla warfare. They have communication networks that can operate independently of their governments." Yanji showed him maps of Earth. "Every major population center has underground facilities. Every region has hidden weapons caches. Every community has trained resistance leaders. You are saying they have prepared their entire planet for guerrilla warfare?" "Not just prepared, sir. They've been practicing. For the past century, humans have been fighting guerrilla wars continuously somewhere on their planet. They never stopped learning how to fight this way." Chief Military Historian Insu approached with the most frightening discovery yet. "Sir, I have found something that changes everything we thought we knew about humans." "What is it?" "The humans have been preparing specifically for alien invasion for over 70 years. They have detailed plans for fighting space-based opponents." Tehan felt his heart sink. "Show me." Insu displayed a series of human military documents. After they developed nuclear weapons, human military planners began considering threats from space. They created entire military branches dedicated to fighting alien invaders. What kind of preparations? They have weapons designed to destroy? Spacecraft in orbit. They have trained soldiers for fighting in hostile environments. They have developed tactics specifically for fighting technologically superior opponents. Insu scrolled through more documents. "Look at this training manual. Symmetric warfare against advanced opponents. It contains detailed instructions for fighting enemies with superior technology." Tehan read the document summaries. The humans had studied every possible advantage an alien species might have and developed countermeasures for each one. "They have plans for fighting us specifically?" asked. "Not us specifically, but species. Like us, they assume alien invaders will have better weapons, better ships, and better technology. So they have developed ways to fight without relying on superior equipment." Cultural analyst So Young joined the group. She looked exhausted and deeply disturbed. "Sir, I have completed my analysis of human psychological warfare capabilities. The results are terrifying. Tell me, the humans do not just fight with weapons. They fight with their minds. They have developed ways to break enemy morale that we never considered possible." Saul Young displayed examples from human military history. They use propaganda to turn enemies against each other. They spread false information to cause confusion. They use psychological torture to break prisoners. It's barbaric. There's worse, sir. They have developed biological warfare. They deliberately spread diseases among enemy populations. They have created weapons that target specific genetic traits. Tehain stared at the data. They have weapons that target genetics. Yes, sir. And they have theoretical research on developing biological weapons that could target alien biology. The command center fell silent. The Valorian research team had uncovered the truth about humanity. These were not primitive beings waiting to be conquered. They were a species that had spent thousands of years becoming the perfect warriors. About their nuclear capabilities, Tehain asked. Military analyst Minho stepped forward. Hey, sir, the humans currently have over 13,000 nuclear weapons. But that is not the most concerning part. What is? They have developed delivery systems that can reach any point in their star system. They have nuclear weapons on submarines that can hide underwater for months. They have mobile launchers that can move anywhere on their planet, in their space. Capabilities. They have rockets that can deliver nuclear weapons to orbital targets. They have been practicing anti-satellite warfare for decades. The Jinn added her own findings. Sir, I have analyzed their industrial capacity. If the humans decide to fight, they can convert their entire civilization to war production within months. Months? They did it before, during their global wars? No. They transformed peaceful factories into weapons production facilities, mobilized their entire population for warfare. Over 100 million humans served in their military during a single conflict. Tehain realized the implications. They could field armies larger than our entire population. Yes, sir. And every one of those soldiers would be trained in tactics designed to fight superior opponents. Senior researcher Biram approached with the final piece of the puzzle. Sir, I have been analyzing human conflict psychology. I believe I understand. Why they fight so much? Tell me. Humans do not fight because they are angry or desperate. They fight because they enjoy it. Warfare is part of their basic nature. Bioram displayed psychological profiles from the human archives.
I have sayings
About war. War is the continuation of politics by other means. If you want peace, prepare for war. They see conflict as natural and inevitable. They want to fight, sir. I believe humans see warfare as a form of problem solving when they encounter a challenge. Their first instinct is to develop ways to fight it. Tehain looked around at his research team. It spent 3 weeks studying human military capabilities. The conclusion was inescapable. What is your recommendation? He asked Subin. Answered for the entire team. Sir, we recommend immediate withdrawal from human space. Why? Because fighting humans would be the greatest military disaster in Valorian history. They have capabilities we cannot match. They have prepared for scenarios we never considered. They have tactics we do not understand, and if we try to conquer them anyway. Sir and Su replied quietly. The humans will not just resist our invasion. They will destroy us completely. And then they will hunt down every Valorian in the galaxy to make sure we never threaten them again. The analysis center fell completely. Silent. 21 days of research had led to one unavoidable conclusion. The humans were not prey. They were apex predators, and the Valorian Empire just challenged them to a fight. 9 days remained until the human deadline, Commander Tehain realized that those 9 days might be the last peaceful days the galaxy would ever know. 28 days had passed since the Valorian Empire arrived at Earth. Commander Tehain sat in his private quarters, staring at the complete research report on human military capabilities. 3,000 pages of analysis. 3,000 pages of horror. He activated his communication system and sent an emergency message to Valorian High Command. This is Commander Tehain, requesting immediate conference with the War Council. Priority Alpha. Urgent. The response came within minutes. Fleet Admiral Kongde appeared on the screen, flanked by the 5 members of the Valorian War Council. They ruled the military forces of 17 star systems. Commander Tehain, your message indicated a critical situation. Report, Admiral. I am requesting immediate authorization to withdraw all Valorian forces from human space. The War Council members looked surprised. General Hyenwu leaned forward. Withdraw? Have the humans rejected our offer? No, sir. They have not yet responded. But our analysis of their military capabilities indicates that any conflict with humanity would result in the complete destruction of Valorian civilization. Admiral Kongde frowned. Explain your assessment. Tehine took a deep breath. Sir, the humans are not a primitive species. They are the most militarily advanced civilization we have ever encountered. They've spent 5,000 years perfecting warfare, Commander. Surely you exaggerate, so our technology is far superior to theirs. Admiral, with respect, our technology means nothing against their tactics. The humans have prepared specifically for fighting technologically superior opponents. They have been doing it for centuries, General Hyanwu interrupted. Give us specific examples. The humans have nuclear weapons capable of destroying entire cities. They have 13,000 of these weapons, with delivery systems that can reach any target in their star system. We have shields that can deflect primitive nuclear weapons. Sir, their largest weapons produce explosions equivalent to 65 million tons of conventional explosives. Our shields cannot withstand that level of force. The War Council exchanged glances. Admiral Kongde spoke carefully. What else concerns you? The humans have prepared their entire planet for guerrilla warfare. If we occupy their world, every human civilian is trained to become a soldier. They have hidden weapons throughout their planet. They have communication systems that can operate independently. Guerrilla warfare is ineffective against modern military forces. Admiral, the humans have been practicing guerrilla warfare for over a century. They have detailed manuals on fighting superior opponents. They know how to turn our advantages against us. Tehane displayed some of the human tactical documents. Look at these strategies. They plan to attack our supply lines, not our main forces. They will target our communication systems. They will use psychological warfare to break our morale. Commander, you sound frightened of primitives. Admiral, I am terrified of the most efficient killers in the galaxy. The statement hung in the air. Tehane continued his briefing. The humans have a concept called total war. When they fight, they consider everything a valid target. They will not just attack our military. They will hunt down every Valorian in the galaxy. That is impossible. How could they reach our other worlds? Sir, the humans have theoretical plans for interstellar warfare. They have studied how to fight across multiple star systems. They plan for conflicts that last multiple generations. General Hyanwu looked skeptical. Show us proof of their capabilities. Tehane displayed the human military archives. In one conflict called World War II, humans killed 70 million of each other in 6 years. They have fought wars lasting over a century. Have developed biological weapons that target specific genetic traits. Biological weapons? Sir, and they have theoretical research on developing weapons that could target alien biology. They have been preparing for alien invasion for 70 years. The War Council fell silent. Admiral Kongde studied the data on his screen. What is your professional military assessment? The Admiral asked. Sir, if we attempt to conquer humanity, we will lose. Not just this battle, but our entire civilization. The humans will not stop fighting until every Valorian is dead. You believe they would hunt us across the galaxy? Sir, I believe they would enjoy it. The humans see warfare as problem-solving. They have sayings like the best defense is a good offense. If we threaten them, they will eliminate the threat completely. Admiral Kongde consulted with the other council members in whispered conversation. Finally, he spoke. Commander, what? Do you recommend immediate withdrawal from human space? Send a message offering peaceful trade relations? Make it clear that we pose no threat to them. You want us to surrender without fighting? Admiral, I want us to survive. Another long silence. General Hyanwu asked the question everyone was thinking. Commander, if the humans are so dangerous, why have they offered to negotiate? Because they are intelligent, sir. They know that peaceful relations benefit everyone. But if we force them to fight, they will show us why they have survived 5,000 years of continuous warfare. Admiral Kongde made his decision. Commander Tehane, You are authorized to withdraw all Valorian forces from human space immediately. Send a message to the human government offering formal, peaceful relations. Yes, sir, and Commander. Yes, Admiral. Make sure the humans understand that we come in friendship. Do not give them any reason to consider us a threat. The communication ended. Tehine sat alone for a moment, feeling the weight of what had just happened. The mighty Valorian Empire, conqueror of 17 worlds, was retreating from a single planet without firing a shot. He activated the ship's communication system. All hands, prepare for immediate departure from human space. Navigation, set course for Valorian space, maximum speed. Then he opened a channel to Earth. Human diplomat Ji Wu appeared on the screen. Greetings, Commander Tehine. You are not expecting to hear from you for 2 more days? Representative Ji Wu, I bring greetings from the Valorian Empire. After careful consideration, we have decided to withdraw our offer of integration. Ji Wu looked surprised but pleased. May I ask why? We believe that both our civilizations would benefit more from peaceful trade relations than political integration. The Valorian Empire would like to offer a formal treaty of friendship and commerce. That sounds wonderful, Commander. We would be very interested in such an arrangement. Excellent. We will send formal proposals through diplomatic channels. The Valorian Empire looks forward to a long and peaceful relationship with humanity, as do we, Commander. The communication ended. Tehine walked to the command center where his officers were preparing for departure. Sir, Captain Hagen asked, are we really leaving without establishing Valorian control? Captain, we are leaving because establishing Valorian control would be impossible. But sir, we have superior technology. Tehine looked at his captain. Hagen, let me ask you a question. If you had to fight an enemy that has been practicing warfare for 5,000 years, has nuclear weapons that can destroy cities, and considers total destruction of opponents to be normal military doctrine, would you want superior technology or superior intelligence? Captain Hagen thought about this. Superior intelligence, sir. Then you understand why we are leaving. As the Eternal Dawn departed Earth's orbit, Tehine sent one final message to Valorian High Command. Mission accomplished. Peaceful relations. Established with human civilization, commend immediate classification of human space as friendly territory. Under no circumstances should any Valorian force enter human space without invitation. He paused, then added a personal note. Admiral, the humans allowed us to leave peacefully because they chose to. Remember that. 3 days later, throughout Valorian space, the word spread quickly. There's a new species in the galaxy. They were called humans. They were small, primitive-looking creatures with only 2 arms, and they were never, ever to be threatened. The Valorian Empire had learned the most important lesson in galactic politics. Sometimes the smartest thing to do is walk away from a fight, especially when your opponent has spent 5,000 years learning how to win them.